This week, Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, took a gamble. A call for an early election to Parliament. By making the election early, she could gather up some extra seats in the British Parliament and increase her powerful conservative grip on Britain. She didn't have to do this. She could have waited for the regular election in 2020, but sometimes you just feel lucky and it feels like the wind is at your back and you just want to take a chance, guide the country into a new direction. The only problem with her plan was it didn't work. This week, she lost the majority in Parliament and was forced to make alliances with a smaller party just to stay in power. This was a huge mistake on her part, and have many people now calling for her to resign. Many from the Conservative Party lost their seats, but like I've said, they didn't really need to. This is why there is so much animosity towards the British Prime Minister now. Now, just to explain this, in Britain, there's 6 parties, and you vote for which party you want in power. If one party obtains the majority of seats, then they get to form the government and they get to pick the Prime Minister. If the election results end up with no single party having majority, then it's what they call a hung parliament. The options for forming the government are either a minority government or a coalition government. The two main parties being the Conservative Party run by Theresa May and the Labour Party run by Jeremy Corbyn. The Conservative Party lost 13 seats, making their total 317, while the Labour Party gained 30 seats, bringing their total to 262 seats. But you need 326 to get the ones that form the government, which is what Theresa May had before, but not now. So she will have to make an alliance with another party, which will most likely be the Democratic Unionist Party, and this means that they will now have a say in the legislation of Parliament. So she went to visit the Queen on Friday to explain what she might do next. She said after the meeting that she would now form a new government with the DUP of Northern Ireland, and it's not planning to resign. The big question, of course, is why did she do this? Or better yet, how could this have happened when it showed that all the polls were swinging well in her favor of the Conservative Party? Many political analysts are saying that the big shift really came from 2 groups: the young people and the people who think Britain should stay in the European Union. The conservative movement is becoming slightly less popular with the election of Macron in France, the possible hatred of Donald Trump, and the tides are starting to turn for the conservative movement. Now the question is, what is going to happen to Brexit? The change in the number of seats in the Labour Party is sure to complicate an already very complicated matter. Talks between Britain and the 27 other members of the European Union are scheduled to begin June 19th. In accordance with the 2-year process for departure from the European Union, Mrs. May had said that she was calling the election to strengthen her party's hand. So going into these negotiations, she wanted to make it strong, to be able to be the one to powerfully negotiate. Instead, Britain will enter those talks substantially weakened and divided. This means that Britain is now taking a softer stance and will involve making more concessions to the Union. This is all supposed to happen about 10 days from now. Everything was all planned out. The European Union knew what it was going to do. Theresa May was ready to negotiate on behalf of Britain. Now it looks like all of this might get delayed, and it's still unclear who's going to be leading the complex talks on the British side. So the will of the people is to leave the European Union, but the question is, what kind of deal can they get now? The head of the Labour Party, Corbyn, said the negotiations will have to go ahead. However, there are things that are going to have to change. The EU Commissioner warned that no matter what things have changed, the talks may not start as planned. He explained that with the way things are now, there's a danger that negotiations could turn out badly for both sides. Now, there's one thing that's interesting fact in this crazy turn of events. Remember that guy, Nigel Farage? He's part of the FBI investigation into the Trump and Russian fiasco. He used to be the leader of the UKIP party that pushed hard for Brexit. He was a very right-wing politician, very much against immigration, and had so many appearances with the US President Donald Trump. If you look at the Trump collusion investigation and all the actors involved, this guy is the one that always seems to be right in the middle of everything. Anyway, he pushed for Brexit. He's the main reason it got passed. He led the political party UKIP. However, he unexpectedly resigned right after the Brexit was finally pushed through. Now, here's what's interesting in the vote that happened last Thursday. UKIP lost every single one of its seats in the House of Parliament. The new leader, Paul Nuttall, will now have to step down as his leader. The whole point of that party was to push for Brexit. And now they are no more. Now, the question of what will be the answer for Brexit. Theresa May needed a clear mandate to move forward on Brexit and to get the UK out of the European Union. But now, after the election, May has lost her grip on power, and the future of Britain is very, very unclear. Did the group of Nigel Farage and the conservative movement talk the British people into something that now they realize might be a very bad idea? This is The Jam here on DZRJ Radio, the voice of the Philippines. We're here on Sunday night talking about things going on around the world. We're going to take a